Good morning, everybody. Well, I guess evening. By the time I post this, it will be Wednesday evening, but I am recording it during a break here. When I'm recording it here, it's about 5 to 12, and it's beautiful. The sun is shining today. A week ago, when I did this update, we had snow flying through the air, and so it was a different situation. But today, a beautiful day with sunshine here in Lansing. So, coming to you from the office today, got some things to run past you and fill you in on. Let's see here. We'll start with one that I know has been a important conversation amongst our school officials, and one I'm learning about, and that is in regard to schools that have attendance fall below 75%. Kind of the talking point is you lose funding, so why stay open if you're below 75%? In this day and age of COVID, if parents are keeping kids home, kids are sick, whatever, and that attendance drops below 75%, some of the thought is, well, why stay open? We're not going to make any money on it. Now, part of this is, hey, stay open because the kids need to have their butts in the seats, right? We've got crazy learning loss, which we'll talk about. But so here's the thing. But why stay open if there's no incentive? Well, here's the thing. If you're a school district and you fall below 75%, you don't lose all your funding for that day. It's not as if the day didn't count. It does count, and it's good. What happens is, and there's a mathematical formula that I'm not going to try and go through on this, but just so you know, there is a mathematical formula that says, okay, you take the percentage that you were below. 75% is the minimum, but now you're at 70. So you're down 5%. You take that 5%, and in essence, you deduct that. There's a percentage in a formula. Point is, it's not as if you lose everything. You lose $10,000 or something like that. I'm making up a number to make the point. It's not as if you lose the entire day's funding. So that is eye-opening. Oh, okay. Now here's the other part of that. Part of the idea is that the COVID monies that have been doled out over the last year and a half, can you use some of that to make up and pay for that $10 or $12 or $15,000 that you lost today because you were below the 75% mark? So big thing is you don't lose all your funding. There's a percentage. Now, we can still debate how to do this, where to do that. Is there something that should be done? But I think it's important so people realize, and I learned it, 75% doesn't mean all the day is gone. It now becomes a percentage of what you are below. And just some numbers here. 23% of the districts that have closed for 5 days or more, 72% shared closures were due to inclement weather. 34% of those closures were related to COVID-19 or illness. 34% due to staff shortages. 27% connected to school safety concerns. 19% because of power outages. So again, if you're closed, that's one thing. If you fall below that 75%, it's not a total wipeout of dollars, so why are we here? It's a percentage. So we'll move forward. The discussions will continue, but I think that's an important nuance in this because I don't know if all school folks understand that. I knew I didn't, so it was news to me. And I think it's important to understand the nuances when you're trying to make decisions. Let's see here. Learning loss. I wanted to touch on this. In spring of 2021, during the COVID situation, 35% of Michigan students were significantly behind grade level for math, 32.8% for reading. That is the latest study. In a Senate education hearing yesterday, they said up to 64% of Michigan students kicked off the 2021 academic year. Up to 42% were left behind the year, still outside the classroom. And one of the things that I thought was interesting to show why we need to have those kids in the seats. When we look at the M-STEP, we see that districts that offered fully remote instruction throughout the school year experienced a reduction in math achievement growth that was twice as large of those that were that stuck with in person. So we've got to get our kids back into the seats. And again, that goes back to this 75%. Don't just close the day because you think you're going to lose all your funding. It's a percentage. We've got to nick, every little nook and cranny here to keep our schools open and keep those kids in the seats, because this is going to be an issue we're going to be dealing with for a lot of years. So, somebody said, pick a grade, whatever grade, let's say fifth grade. This year's fifth graders have not been in a classroom full time in over 2 years, since probably second, maybe third grade. Think about that. That's rough. Let's see here. What do we got here? Oh, okay. So yesterday we passed out a COVID supplemental that would send $1.2 billion out to the state in various funds, right? Some of the things that it would be broken into would be $300 million for healthcare recruitment, retention, and training. So hospitals that are short on staff, is there a way to get more in and help pay for them? $367 million for grants to expand lab capacity, that sort of thing, to help beef up our hospitals. Almost $151 million for school safety measures, testing and that sort of thing. And one of the things that I think is interesting, there's so much federal money here that, do you spend it all at once? Do you do this, do that? You know how many COVID supplementals we've passed out since the beginning of COVID? I'll give you a moment to contemplate that. How many, when we get criticized a lot, we're not spending the money fast enough, we're not doing this fast enough. Since this all began, we have passed out, and including this one, 12 COVID supplementals for various this, that's, and the others. The governor, as I understand it, still has money that she could use for testing and purposes that she hasn't spent yet, and it's under her discretion. Point is, do you spend it all at once? Well, I had someone explain to me that, all right, we got $5 billion, just blow it, give it to everybody, do this, do that, get it out of here. Now what happens if in 6 to 8 months or a year, we find out that there's some effect from all of this, like our kids in schools and whatever, and we could have used some of that money. This COVID money isn't all for scattershot. It's to say, no, hang on, we're going to have problems for the next couple of years. Let's make sure we have the funds sitting here ready to go. So when you hear people, they're not spending the money fast enough, they're not doing this, we've passed out a dozen COVID supplementals over the last, almost 2 years. And what about the issues we still have yet to face? So I think the prudent thing is to be smart and spend the money as we need it. We'll get it spent. For anybody out there who got to spend the money, let's be smart about it. Let's not just throw it on at the wall and see what sticks, right? So we are moving forward smartly and cautiously and being prepared. So I throw that out there to contradict some of the we're terrible for not spending all this money. There's reasons why, and we have spent a lot of money. I should try and get the exact amount of those 12 COVID supplementals, but it's billions of dollars we're spending it. Something that I talked about probably a year ago, maybe 10 months ago, we were talking about how we moved through the House a package of bills that would help bring down costs for pharmaceuticals and medical costs in many ways. The lead bill of that is the pharmaceutical managers bill, and we sent it over to the Senate, and they've been sitting and working on it for a while. And yesterday, they reported out to the Senate floor a bill that would the pharmaceutical managers bill that would. So the PBM is a pharmacy benefit manager, is a middle person who, when it was built, the idea was you've got the big pharmaceutical companies, you've got the pharmacies, and doctors. And then you'd have this middle ground that would kind of manage all of that. Well, over time, I believe at least one large drugstore chain purchased one of these benefit managers. So now they're controlling things. And they've grown to these monolithic type things, and our pharmacists, especially our independent pharmacists, are getting crushed, and they can manipulate the prices. So we've got this pharmacy benefit manager bill that is now on the Senate floor, and hopefully we can get it over and get it signed, and that will be the beginning of trying to regulate these costs. We've got another bill about insulin. There's all sorts of these bills that are in this package that will help maintain and lower costs for much of our medical situation, especially when it comes to drugs and those items that you need for care. So know that that's happening. We talked about that, like I said, 10 months ago, and it moved through the Senate committee yesterday onto the Senate floor. So hopefully they'll take that debate up and move that here shortly. So we'll see. I'll keep you in the loop. Then I thought I'd end with this one because I thought it was kind of interesting. You have ballot proposals. Most recently, we had the Independent Redistricting Commission. We had marijuana that was on there, and so on and so forth. And the legislature can put something on the ballot by a 2/3 vote. People can go out and get signatures, right? I think it's 340,000 signatures. You get those, and if the wording's right and all the legalese is there, you have a ballot proposal. Well, right now, as we sit here heading into these elections this fall, there are potentially, don't know if they'll all get signatures or not, 16 ballot initiatives that are floating out there looking for signatures. So you might want to carry your pen around and get ready to sign. But here's I'm just going to run through a couple of them. I'm not going to read and describe all 16 of them. But no, because some of these, like I said, won't make it. You can go out and find information on them if you want to. There's Protect the Right to Vote. This one is a proposal would require photo ID or a signed affidavit to vote, would require a partial social security number to register to vote, would provide state-funded IDs to those who don't have them. That's one. Then there's Promote the Vote 2022 petition, sponsored by the League of Women Voters, ACLU, and Voters Not Politicians. Their proposal would insert language in the state constitution that would bar any law from creating, quote, undue burden on voters. It would allow absentee ballots to be counted 6 days after the election if postmarked by Election Day. We'll talk more as they move on. Reproduction freedom for all of Michigan. Planned Parenthood, ACLU, constitutional amendment that would allow abortions in the state of Michigan, basically. And I should say, in fairness, I mentioned the sponsors of the others. The one I should do, Protect the Right to Vote petition, is basically a Michigan Republican Party driven bill. Since I mentioned the others, I want to be fair. Didn't mean to leave it out, I just did. But I corrected myself. Michigan, let's see here. The Michigan changes to an initiative and legislative petition process. The proposal would change the process the Michigan legislature has used to bypass vetoes from the governor. It would require any ballot initiative to be voted on and not allow the legislature to pass a ballot proposal into law. So what happens is if there's the 340,000 signatures and it comes in and it's a legal ballot initiative, our Constitution allows us to pass it through. So that one is one of them. A couple others here. Remember, 16 out there. The Student Opportunity Scholarship Program, the Great Lakes Education Project backed measure, would create a student opportunity scholarship that individuals can donate into, no state money, and can be used for scholarships like for driver's ed or tutoring or whatever the case may be. And then this is the one I'm going to even try and even say the words here. The decriminalization of psilocybin mushrooms, and other plants and fungi. The proposal would decriminalize the cultivation, possession, and use of psychotropic plants and fungi, peyote, and others. So there you go. Just a few of the potential 16 ballot proposals waiting for you. this fall. We'll see if they all make the finish line. All right. Ooh, I went long, 15 minutes. All right. Have a good day. We'll check in with you next week. If something big happens, I'll interrupt with a headline. But until then, be safe, take care. Let's be nice to each other. All right. Take care.